We've all made bad decisions. It happens. But what if I told you there's a hidden psychological trap that actually makes us double down on them? A trap that can turn a tiny mistake into a total disaster. So what is this hidden force? Well, let's dive into a cognitive bias that messes with everything, from our careers to our personal lives.
Just think about it for a second. Have you ever felt that pull? That nagging feeling in your gut that you've just come too far to turn back, even when everything inside you is screaming that you should? Yeah, you're not alone. This is a super common human experience, and it actually has a name. Let's look at a few examples I bet you'll recognize.
Okay, picture this. You're an hour into a movie, and it is just awful. The plot's a mess, the acting is painful, but you stay. Why? Well, I paid for the ticket, right? But think about it. That money is gone either way. Your brain, though, it tricks you. It convinces you to get your money's worth by sitting through another hour of pure boredom.
Now, let's take it up a notch. That big project at work, it's way over budget, it's behind schedule, and all the new data says it's just not going to work. But the team has put in so many hours, and so much money has already been spent, so instead of cutting losses, what happens? The decision is made to pour even more resources into it, just hoping for a miracle turnaround.
And this isn't just about money or work. This bias hits us right where we live. It affects our relationships. So many people stay in partnerships that just aren't working anymore, not because they see a happy future, but because they have a long past. You hear it all the time, but we've been together for so long. Those years feel like an investment that's just too big to walk away from, even if it means sacrificing your own future happiness.
So, what is happening in all these scenarios is something called the sunk cost fallacy. It's this mental glitch where we let past, unrecoverable costs, those are the sunk costs, make our decisions for us. A totally rational person would say, hey, that money, that time, that effort, it's gone. What's the best decision for me moving forward from right now? But our brains, they just don't work that way. And when this kind of thinking gets applied to bigger decisions, the consequences can be absolutely massive.
And I mean it. This isn't just about bad movies or tough personal choices. This exact fallacy has literally shaped history, costing billions of dollars and completely derailing enormous projects.
Let's talk about the Concorde supersonic jet. It's such a perfect, famous example that the sunk cost fallacy is often called the Concorde fallacy. By 1973, it was crystal clear to both the British and French governments that this plane would never, ever be profitable. But they had already spent a mind-boggling amount of money. So, driven by national prestige and this powerful inability to waste all that prior investment, they just kept funding it for years. They were literally throwing good money after bad, on a global scale.
And you see this happening in businesses every single day. Companies keep patching up ancient software because they spent a fortune on it years ago. Managers will hesitate to let go of an underperforming employee because they invested months of training in them. Marketing teams will keep pouring money into a campaign that clearly isn't working, all because the budget was already approved. Each one of these is a classic sunk cost trap, just draining away resources that could be used for something that actually works.
So, if it's so obviously irrational, why is this fallacy so darn powerful? Why is it so hard for us to just walk away? Well, the answer lies deep in our own psychology.
It really boils down to two main culprits that are at war inside our minds. First, there's loss aversion. Behavioral economists have shown that the pain of losing something feels about twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining that same thing. So when we abandon a project, we're forced to face that painful feeling of loss. But if we continue, we keep that hope of recovery alive, even if it's a false hope. Then there's cognitive dissonance. We all like to think of ourselves as smart, rational people. Admitting a past decision was a mistake creates this uncomfortable mental static. So to get rid of that discomfort, we convince ourselves that sticking with it is the right move. We're basically protecting our ego, even if it costs us our future.
Oh, and it doesn't stop there. We're also hardwired to not look wasteful to other people. And if we were the one who made the initial call, it gets even harder to pull the plug. We escalate our commitment. We get way too optimistic, and we tell ourselves that just a little more investment will finally make it all pay off.
The Nobel-winning economist Richard Thaler just summed this up perfectly with this little story. The man's choice is simple, right? He has two options for the future: play in pain or rest and feel better. The $300, it's gone. It's a sunk cost. It's in the past. But he lets that past payment make his future decisions for him, even when it causes him literal physical pain. That is the sunk cost fallacy in a nutshell.
Okay, so we're all wired for this kind of irrational behavior.
The big question is, how do we fight back? Well, the good news is there's some really concrete strategies you can use to escape the trap.
Here is a 4-step framework you can use. First, and this one is the real game changer, you have to reframe the question. Forget everything you've already spent. Just ask yourself, knowing what I know right now, if I were starting from scratch today, would I still make this investment? If the answer is no, it's time to walk away. Second, set your exit criteria before you even begin. Decide upfront what failure looks like. Third, always think about the opportunity cost. Every single hour or dollar you spend on this failing thing is an hour or a dollar you can't spend on something with real potential. And finally, get an outside opinion. Ask someone who doesn't have all your emotional baggage. They can see the situation with so much more clarity.
This right here is such a powerful mental shift. You know, we're all taught quitters never win. But when you're facing the sunk cost fallacy, knowing when to quit isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign of brilliant strategy. It's a sign of a leader who is focused on the future, not chained to the past. Winners absolutely quit bad strategies all the time. That's how they free up resources for the good ones.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this one question to think about. The next time you face one of these tough decisions, just pause and ask yourself this. Is this choice I'm about to make really about creating the best possible future? Or am I just trying to prove that a decision I made in the past was the right one? Your answer to that question, well, it's going to tell you everything